This is Counterpoint, and I'm your host, Tanya Granick-Allen. The games of the 33rd Olympiad are underway in Paris, France, and Canada is hoping to medal and medal plenty. And with 337 athletes representing Canada, there is much hope. Whether it's track and field, fencing, basketball, swimming, or rowing, Canada's quality athletes put us in a great position to take home a trough of medals. So what does it take to be an Olympian? What's involved in preparing for the Summer Games, which happen once every 4 years? Well, joining me later in the program to share her expertise is Coach Linda Blade, a former Canadian track and field champion, a sports performance professional who has worked with Olympic athletes and former president of the Board for Athletics Alberta. But now we will hear from Mike Patton, a striking coach at Fight Factory 613 in Ottawa, with both high-level amateurs and professionals, having coached kickboxing and Muay Thai locally and provincially and nationally, as well as with the national team at the Pan American Kickboxing Championships in Mexico in 2020. Mike, thank you so much for joining me. Usually we have you on as a panelist for our current events panel, and a lot of people don't know that actually you have this whole side to you that is involved in competitive sports. Please tell us, what do you do?
Well, I've been involved in politics for a long time, but I finally found something that pays worse, and that's being a sports coach. I've been involved in Muay Thai. I started training about 15 years ago, and it eventually moved into helping with the athletes and coaching athletes, and it has been a very exciting journey.
And you were a good part of the Pan American kickboxing team in 2020 in Mexico. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, that was such a great experience for me because I managed to qualify 4 athletes from our club to the national team. I was invited along to as a national team coach, and such a great experience. It is so inspirational to work with anyone, but especially athletes that are absolutely at the top level in the world. It's quite an experience to have.
So a lot of our viewers, and in myself included, like I did competitive sports, but obviously not at that level, we don't understand, or we maybe don't have a full appreciation of what goes in terms of training and psychological training, even into developing an elite athlete. Share with us some of your experiences as to what kind of makes that package athlete.
Well, it's such a challenge because lots of people participate in sports and they might even be at a competitive level, but to go to the next level, to be an Olympic level athlete or professional athlete, it is more than a full-time job. It's not just that you're training for multiple hours and multiple sessions every day, but things like your nutrition, what you eat is very closely prescribed. How many hours a day, it's very time consuming, and most of our athletes have full-time jobs. They have to support themselves because the sport's not going to support them. So they're working full time, and when they're not working, they're training. When they're not working, they're not training, they're sleeping. And it is such a challenge because you have no life outside of sport and work.
And you bring up a very good point. Many viewers may see like the NHL or the NBA or the NFL and think, oh, well, they make so many millions of dollars. What do you mean that they have a full-time job? Whereas with the Olympics, and correct me if I'm wrong, unless they've opened it up, and I think maybe in certain sports they have, but you are an amateur. This is not something you're paid to do.
Right. They've changed. The rules used to be in the Olympics that you could only be an amateur sport. That's changed. It now includes professional athletes. But even amongst professional athletes, there are very few professional athletes that ever make a real living because you can be a Major League Baseball player or in the NFL or the NBA or the NHL, and you make a lot of money. But think about how many kids play hockey and how many end up in the NHL. Very few of the athletes that are even quite competitive ever make any money. And you can spend your whole life working to get to that level and then suffer a career ending injury, 6 weeks before the event, and you're out.
So why do they do it? We only have 20 seconds left, but why pursue this?
The most elite athletes are obsessed with being the best. They want the challenge. They've accepted the challenge. They want to be the best in the world, and they want to test themselves against the best of the world. And that's true in kickboxing, Muay Thai, the combat
Right.
sports, and other sports as well.